guys have probably seen these films before. The Harry Potter movies are considered a hallmark in large-scale series filmmaking, especially the first four that have pretty insane production values, stick pretty close to the source material they're based on, and they contain previously unknown British actors that later became big stars. Some of these actors were already big. Now, I'm well aware that this series of books and other themed content have really fallen out of favor due to their creator consistently outing themselves to be an awful person. None of us really want to use our money or influence to support artists who insist on bitter, hateful, hugely bigoted behavior and rhetoric. But for the sake of the arts, I decided to use my own physical media and a one-time purchase of associated content in order to produce this video. Hopefully, I'm not funding the original creator in making this. And yeah, this includes my purchase of Hogwarts Legacy, where I made a character who apparently starred in the film Eyes Wide Shut and talks like they're in the BBC dub of The Magic School Bus.
I suppose it must seem that way. I'm not sure it's justified. It's often been a matter of circumstance.
All that to say is that I dug through the media cabinet to film this video. We're taking a closer look at the first film, Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, because what I'm talking about today involves one particular clip that appears pretty late in the movie.
Hagrid.
Now, if you didn't quite catch that, let's roll that again, just a little bit louder.
Hagrid.
So what you just saw and heard was Hagrid, one of the main characters, playing the Harry Potter theme on his little set of pipes in front of his house. John Williams, the guy who scored this film, calls the tune Hedwig's theme. Although over the years I've failed to see how this piece of music has anything to do with Hedwig at all. But this tune showing up late in the film really opens up some questions that I don't think we've taken the time to fully explore. For instance, is Hedwig's theme canon to the universe of Harry Potter? Did Hagrid write Hedwig's theme, or is he just able to play it? If any, what implications does this hold for the greater understanding of the Harry Potter universe? Much to think about. We'll just have to see how it goes. But before we come up with any answers, we've got to get into something that involves a greater understanding of music in cinema. In the world of movies, stage plays, really any visual arts that include seeing characters and people react to situations, there's this idea that music is typically sorted into two categories: diegetic and non-diegetic. Now, this first one is a little easier for us to understand right away. Diegetic music is what can be felt, heard, and understood by the characters in the universe that they live in. It's not just for us out in the audience, even though we hear it too. For instance, even though Harry, Hermione, and Ron don't necessarily react to Hagrid playing his flute, it's implied by the film that it's actually happening in front of them. The scene is set up and the audio is mixed in a way that Hedwig's theme is actually being played by Hagrid, and the characters are hearing it themselves in the story. If Chris Columbus and Steve Kloves really wanted to hit this on the head, they could have had Harry say something to the effect of, "Hey Hagrid, would you stop playing your flute for 1 second maybe so we can ask you something important?" This doesn't happen, of course, but we still know that Hagrid is performing in the movie's universe anyway. Non-diegetic music is kind of on the opposite end. Like all movie music, non-diegetic stuff is heard by us, the audience. But the key difference here is that it's not experienced by the characters at all, and thus they don't hear it. It's music just for us and the film's ambiance. The Harry Potter movies are full of neat stuff like that. John Williams is excellent at building rich, dense orchestration that enriches the film and pulls us in further to the universe of Hogwarts. But it's still implied that the characters can't hear any of it, unless of course we're cued into something that makes it somehow diegetic. Like, the students hanging out in the Great Hall during the end of the movies aren't saying stuff like, "Yeah, Gryffindor rules, woohoo, hey, you know, that's a really great song they're playing here, guys, are you hearing this? There's string sections all over the place, I already feel good about the next chapter in the saga." This just does not happen. The music is there for us as moviegoers, but the characters aren't hearing it, or reacting to it either. Another example is the film Midnight Cowboy from 1969. The song Everybody's Talkin' by Fred Neil and Harry Nilsson Nicholson is everywhere in this movie, from the times it repeats a bunch to the score referencing its melody while the action happens on screen. But the characters played by Jon Voight and Dustin Hoffman, they don't hear this at all. The song is meant to enhance the film's ambiance and cues us into what the story's all about, but the characters aren't literally hearing everybody's talking. It's a great song just for us. Sometimes, though, music can be diegetic and non-diegetic at the same time. Take, for instance, this scene from the Danish film Druk. Mads Mikkelsen and his buddies are at a birthday celebration at a restaurant, when suddenly you hear Danish men singing beautifully in the background. At first, it seems non-diegetic. We can't see anybody singing, and the music washes over us while we experience the continuity of the scene. It's a really special moment. But then, the camera moves over and refocuses, and suddenly, we see a group of Danish men singing beautifully to some patrons in the restaurant. By now, the music has shifted to being diegetic. We're able to experience the music being both at the same time, with the music morphing from non-diegetic to diegetic in real time as we watch. So, all this talk about cinema stuff brings us back to the questions we have about Hagrid and his little musical moment. Yeah, it is. Here's why. The first film in the series really sets up the other movies that will surely follow. So when we hear and see Hagrid play this tune, it's immediately implied that the music is a part of the character's universe and really does exist for them. We can assume it's as canon to Harry Potter as other music the characters experience. There's that song that goes, boil, mash 'em, stick 'em in a stew, that appears in Prisoner of Azkaban. And in the fourth movie, Goblet of Fire, there's that wizard rock band that inexplicably has members of Pulp and Radiohead performing on stage for all the fourth years. Even if Johnny Greenwood isn't canon to the wizarding world, certainly this band at the Yule Ball is canon to the Goblet of Fire's universe. And we can assume that Hagrid playing Hedwig's theme carries the same sort of weight in the Sorcerer's Stone. It's definitely the latter, but not likely the former. This is kind of a tough one. Like I said before, Hagrid is definitely playing this song on his set of pipes, even if other characters don't notice or seem to care. We can assume that Hagrid himself is clearly a musician, even if characters and plot points in the future films don't mention his musician skills at all. One more detail from Sorcerer's Stone that clues us in is the magical harp that Hagrid sets up to keep his giant dog from eating people in the basement. It's unclear to me if Hagrid is supposed to have composed this tune, or if John Williams even thought about it this way. But it's here, it's now, he made it happen, and our main trio experiences it in their film's universe. So, I don't know. Maybe check through the Harry Potter wiki, and you can be the judge of what's actually true. I don't really know. But here's why I find this phenomenon fascinating. It's fun and cool, actually, to discover new things about the universes that exist in film. And it's even better if it turns out to be canon, or better yet, diegetic to the action somehow. Like, imagine if Everybody's Talkin' was not only diegetic to Midnight Cowboy, but literally canon to the film's universe. Jon Voight could be our Midnight Cowboy after all, and could have been inspired to hustle in New York after hearing the song for the first time. Maybe he's friends with Harry Nilsson. Maybe it's explained why he and Dustin Hoffman don't appear in a film together again until over half a century later in Megalopolis. Also, filmmakers are fun and cool, because this phenomenon truly is cinema. Movies and other visual arts allow us to think more critically and deeply about the universe that our characters live in. And music is such a huge part of learning what influences them and then the actions they take. Characters can entertain us or teach us about something new that we didn't know before. And the richer their characterization is, the more we get out of the experience. Music is so important to this process, whether the characters hear it themselves in their movie's universe, or even if it's just us, the audience, who are clued into what's going on. Think of all the different movies, shows, or other pieces of art that we could explore with this in mind. It's incredibly cool and fun to think about, I think. Before you leave, make sure to click on that thumb icon. And if you like this video, make sure to leave a comment if you've got something interesting to say. And don't forget to subscribe to this TV channel if you want to stay tuned for future things that I produce on here. This is Jack T. Russell, signing off. Good night!